For everyone just joining the webinar, thank you for taking time out of your day to attend our second virtual whiskey tasting event of a 3-part series. Today, we'll be talking about the pairing of NetApp, Azure, and RZR, and we'll weave that in with some whiskey from Pops McCann. We have 3 fantastic speakers here with us today: David Rosenthal, Aaron Kramer, and Frank Pulliam. David Rosenthal is a passionate leader and expert at applying technology to solve business challenges. After a successful career in sales, IT, marketing, project and product management for firms such as Apple, AT&T, Ameritech, and CDI Corporation, David founded Atedin in 2005 to provide technology services and solutions to Global 2000 clients. In late 2016, David sold Atedin to RZR Technology, a Philly-based end-to-end technology solution provider. After spending the first 3 years of Atedin broadly focused on Comcast Corporation, David has worked for global enterprises such as NBC, Time Warner, the New York Times, and Microsoft. David's honest and advisory approach to the many small, medium, and large customers has won him over from both clients and solution partners. David is currently the VP of Digital Business Solutions, and he'll delve deeper into DBS and Microsoft with NetApp on creating a more secure tech environment. Aaron Kramer joined NetApp in July of 2020 and has spent his career as a subject matter specialist, first as a storage systems engineer and as a cloud technologist for the last 4 years. He's been with NetApp as the company evolved from under-the-desk Sun file server replacement in the early 2000s to supporting mission-critical SAN applications through integrations with hypervisors, and now with a broad cloud solution portfolio. Aaron will tell you more about NetApp's cloud backup service and how you'd benefit from it. Frank Pulliam is a senior solutions engineer supporting NetApp cloud customers focused on Windows Virtual Desktop and other VDI solutions, as well as related technologies, including cloud storage, data security, and compute optimization. Frank joined NetApp with their acquisition of CloudJumper, where he was a senior pre-sales engineer and channel manager. Pulliam's career with NetApp and CloudJumper follows a successful 15-year history in managed services, most recently as partner and VP for ComSys, a successful managed technology service provider of managed IT and VoIP services. At ComSys, Pulliam managed IT operations and VoIP managed services for the company, leading several teams and providing sales and account management oversight of new and existing clients. A key area of focus was leading projects to replace traditional on-prem systems with various cloud and hosted solutions, including cloud workspace and services provided by CloudJumper. Prior to ComSys, Pulliam was the owner and lead engineer of Florida-based MSP Vantage Networks for nearly 10 years. Frank will discuss NetApp's virtual desktop service and its unique features. And now we can get the show on the road. I'll pass it off to Jason Fogg from Pops McCann Whiskey.
Great job. Good day, everyone. Jason here with the Pops McCann Pop-Up. Let's have a taste. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for everyone. Cheers. Now, what I would like everybody to do is relax, sit back, think about your life, enjoy, pour some nice whiskey. We have some nice whiskey today for you. First, I would like to thank RZR Technology and everyone for having me today. I would like to thank Chris McGrath, and a special thank you out there to Paige. She packed everyone's boxes today. So it's an amazing, it's a nice little box with a nice bottle of whiskey. And we'll get into a little bit, but when you meet Chris, the RZR Technology people, and Paige, it's like family. I was dropping off this whiskey last week, and I was presented with a gift from Paige. It's a Tree of Life. We're going to be talking about the Tree of Life today. And she made this for me. And, you know, ever since I met them, it's a sense of family and a sense of belonging. And they take care of you. And special gifts like this is just a reminder to that she gave me for good fortune, good faith, and continue along the spiritual journey that I'm going on with this whiskey, as I will explain. So talking about and speaking about family, let's talk about my family. I am the owner operator of Pops McCann Whiskey. I decided to do something historical. I have a love for ancestry. I have a passion for theatrics. I'm an actor, and I wanted to combine everything, my heritage, my ethnicities, where I come from, the tree of life, everything about this whiskey. There's so much symbolism in it. It talks about the ships, and I have 5 current whiskeys out there today, and they all reflect or have some symbolic nature in one way or another about our ancestors, about how we are alive. And I hope it gives you some reflection to where you can think about how you're alive, relax with this whiskey, as this is a fun webinar. And that's what it's built around, is a lot of fun, but also some deep thought, thinking about the ancestors, thinking about life, and having a little taste of this whiskey. So in every nice box that Paige packed, we have Pops McCann Apple Huckster Rye. This reflects a job that Pops McCann, my great-grandfather on the front with my great-grandmother with him on the back. This reflects a job and a task that he had to do during Prohibition, during the Great Depression, where he had to do anything possible to put food on the table. This is about, I guess you could say, a little bit 10 years after World War I. He served in World War I. He was from the coal mines of Scranton. And in December 10th, 1917, he decides to jump on a train after, unfortunately, a negative turns into a positive. His mother passed away. He decides to leave the coal mines of Scranton behind and go to Philadelphia. He joins the World War I effort, but during that 1 or 2 month, or that by chance happenstance situation, he meets the lady on the back of that label, Anna Hughes McCann. So this whiskey, though, is a special whiskey. He sold apples during the Great Depression. So I wanted to come up with a whiskey that reflected that. I also wanted to give a nice rye whiskey that Pennsylvania was known for. And with this is a 95% rye whiskey with a 5% mash bill. And it is, I kind of call it the 1931 Prohibition Style whiskey. And it's a high octane 95 proof. So take it easy, be gentle with it. And you can always add water to the 95 proof. You can probably add about 0.2 to 0.25 ounces to it to bring it down to, maybe sometimes it's the people's 80 proof natural proof that they are used to drinking. A lot of these are high octane. This one is definitely high octane at 95 proof. It is finished in apple cider barrels for 5 months. I used 2 cideries in Pennsylvania, Good Intent Cidery out of Bellefonte, and Civil War Cidery out of Lewisburg. And it was a big risk reward type of gamble. That's the kind of style that I do sometimes. And it turned out fabulous to me. And I hope you enjoy it. So, please feel free to sip at home and mix with the pies and the sweet snacks. And we kind of wanted to tagline this, isn't it sweet to be alive with the technology? We're going to be talking, obviously, the sweet stuff and the sweets in the boxes and technology. So, but with this is the apple gets pulled naturally out of the barrel, and it is just floral notes to the heavens, and it just gives you this nice sweet whiskey. And like I said, it is high octane. We're going to be making an old fashioned in a second. Pretty simple, pretty easy. You don't need too many ingredients. Just going to show you a little something. But he sold apples during the Great Depression. And he was just like, apples here, get your apples here, fresh apples. And that's just what I imagine. I would love to do a commercial soon. That's the plan. And just have a fabulous time with it. And this is blended. And this even though it's 95 proof, I can also attest and say that it is blended with the finest water source in Pennsylvania. And that's out of Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. And they have the Scotia Springs. And you need good water to blend it down from the 125 barrel proof that they have all the way to this one is 95 proof. So cocktail time, we're going to get right into it. I have obviously a rocks glass. I have a rocks with some ice. I have my bitters. I have these fabulous black cherries. If you ever get these at Trader Joe's or the Amarina Toshi black cherries, really good to make cocktails with. Your sugar and a little bit of water. So I'm just going to clear a little space here. And, what you want to do is you just want to put your sugar right at the bottom. You want to add a little water. You're basically making your own simple syrup. Now with this drink, I'll explain to in a second. You just want to add a little water to it. You want to add some bitters. Bitters goes in everything. It makes everything fancy. It's always a lot of fun. And you just want to swirl that around a little bit so that mixes. Give it a little, and you really can't go wrong with being a mixologist. You just act as if, and you just do what you got to do. And then you know, we just add the ice. A little bit there. And get rid of that glass. Toss it. And put a little whiskey in there. Nice heaping of whiskey. The rocks glass fills up pretty quick. If you add a lot of ice, the whiskey, you won't use and consume as much whiskey. The more ice you pack it in, the more diluted it'll come over time, especially on a hot, beautiful day like today. And then you just want to add a little cherry. You get a little juice in there too, which will make it a little sweet. And then last but not least, I do the orange last. You just get a little peeler. You get a little, this is a rough orange today. And you just want to get a little of the skin. Maybe I grabbed the wrong orange here. All right, well, we'll just do that. We'll just add a little shavings of the orange. You get a little piece. You normally get a nice fresh one, and you just rub it around the glass, get the juices and the oils. And that's a tough one here. Just finish this little piece here. Get a bigger orange too. They cut better. There it goes. Little piece there. You don't need much, but you get the orange zest out of it. You mix a little cocktail, and you raise a toast to the ancestors, and you have a taste. Wow, that's nice. So now I'm going to pass it to David, and he'll be talking about all the technology. Cheers, David.
Cheers. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm David Rosenthal from RZR. I run our digital business practice. Thanks for joining. We have a deep and long history with NetApp and with Microsoft going back 16 years. You know, the power of partnership can't be underestimated or underemphasized. I think NetApp has an over 20-year relationship with Microsoft. We're here, thanks for joining today. We're here to talk about two of the primary solutions that NetApp has amongst a growing portfolio of, I think they're up to 8 different solutions, but we want to focus a little bit today. Whatever your data management, data storage, compliance, backup, data sync needs are, NetApp has a solution for Azure, and I'll add not just for Azure, multi-cloud, Amazon and Google. But we're here today to talk primarily about Azure. You know, the movement now to a hybrid cloud is really in 2021 gaining momentum with the release of Azure Arc, A-R-C. Please check that out. That's going to revolutionize into the next generation our hybrid cloud management capabilities across a single control plane, no matter where your infrastructure and systems are. You know, whether NetApp fits into high performance computing, into virtual desktop services, into compliance, backup and failover, or just high performance file storage, I'm pleased to explain that RZR has a solution for you. If you haven't talked to us about our Azure well-architected framework yet, please reach out. We have a terrific 5-pillar approach to best practices, best architecture, security, compliance, reliability, cost management, and operational excellence that fits in like an umbrella, no matter what your Azure estate solution is. And again, I'm pleased to say that NetApp fits into several of our solutions, our growing portfolio of Azure solutions. Multiple third-party companies are embracing NetApp strategy for Azure. And I'll dare say that the NetApp team can confirm this, but NetApp may be the only vendor that Microsoft has, if you will, white labeled and allowed to continue to use their name within Azure. Everything else is Microsoft Azure service. Well, NetApp's service, especially the NetApp files, is the only vendor, and NetApp's the only vendor Microsoft has allowed to kind of replace their enterprise file storage strategy. So with RZR's growing portfolio, we're going to focus today, though, on two, and I've got my colleagues and friends, Aaron and Frank, to talk about backup and virtual desktop, two of the most, I think, important and critical solutions we can offer. So without further ado, I will skip slides and turn it directly over to Aaron. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you, David, for the introduction.
Sure.
One note, I must have sent Caitlin the wrong biographical information. I didn't join NetApp in July of 2020. I joined NetApp in July 2000. So I've actually been here for 2 decades. And yes, when I joined, we were just, I know, right? When I joined NetApp, that was when the Microsoft partnership was firing up. So today, here to talk to you about just one of our services. And again, there are a great many in the cloud, and this one is going to be Cloud Backup Service. So let me just go ahead and share my screen, run through a couple of slides. I will say I haven't had the chance to try the whiskey yet because I'm a lightweight. So I'm going to wait until after I talk, and then I will have several glasses, most likely. All right, let's take a little look here. So David, can you see my screen, just to confirm?
Yes, it's perfect. Got the chalk.
Okay. All right, here we go. So the first one is a little, marketing slide, but did want to comment on this. And traditionally, your backup in the old days is something that took a big team to do, very complex, very demanding, unreliable, especially when it was tapes and indexing and trying to get everything taken care of. Even today, when we've moved into tape emulators and other sort of systems, it's still very complex. And what we're speaking about here today is actually backing up ONTAP systems. Oops, hang on. ONTAP is our traditional, ONTAP is our storage array. It's the software that makes our arrays go. And we've had these storage arrays running our ONTAP operating system again for 26 years on premises. And then starting 5 years ago, we ported that same ONTAP operating system up into AWS and then to Azure and then to Google, so that the same methodologies and things that folks were using on premises with their ONTAP systems are also available in the cloud. And since they're all the same, we can say, all right, well, how can we come up with a backup service that can back up these ONTAP systems no matter where they are? That's what the Cloud Backup Service is all about. So again, it's primarily designed to back up your customers or your existing ONTAP systems wherever they may be, either on premises, in Azure, or in any of the other cloud providers. So a way to look at it, in the good old days, if you were trying to back up an ONTAP system, there was something called NDMP, Network Data Management Protocol. It would have to walk the walk the file system every time to figure out what changed in between last time it talked to NetApp and this time. It had to do periodic full backups. The restores are complex. Tape's always been fun, and even when we went to something that wasn't tape, it wasn't very efficient. And speaking of efficiency, all the storage efficiencies that your ONTAP systems can do would be lost. So if your ONTAP system was doing 50% storage efficiencies, backing up this way, everything would get fully rehydrated and then sent over the wire. Again, not an efficient way to do things. So what Cloud Backup Service is doing is, first off, it's leveraging NetApp snapshots, which have been around since ONTAP's inception 26 years ago. They are quick, they're efficient. A snapshot takes as long as a snap of a finger. And again, when you create a snapshot, they are basically zero because they just look exactly like the live file system. They only get bigger as the file system moves on. So what the Cloud Backup Service does is it leverages those snapshots and it uses a native direct data mover. So nothing has to be, the file system doesn't have to be walked. Again, as it says, only the changed blocks are sent over. So after that initial backup is done, which is a full, all the blocks are moved down. Every time after that, just the changed blocks are sent over. This means that all of the storage efficiency savings are maintained. We can have long-term retention up to 4,000 snapshots per volume. and it's encrypted. It's basically a very simple, direct backup system for ONTAP. So some of the use cases, first up, as I mentioned, it's backup and archive for ONTAP systems wherever they may be. Again, if you have ONTAP systems on premises in a data center, if you're using Cloud Volumes ONTAP in Azure or Cloud Volumes ONTAP in AWS or GCP, there is a single pane of glass that will, and it does for the backups and recoveries, and it will, again, work the same irrespective of where your ONTAP system will be. Disaster recovery is very simple. You have choices. You can either go ahead and restore an entire volume, entire pool of data back to the same location if you wish. You can restore that volume to any other location you might want. So maybe you have an on-premise ONTAP system backing itself up into an Azure blob, which is the destination of the cloud backup service. You can restore that back to on-prem, or you could even restore it to a brand new in the cloud in Azure ONTAP system you've created and run test and dev run reports on it. You can also restore individual files, individual folders, and you can even search the snapshots to find them. One of the classic cases, of course, is ransomware protection. We've seen recently with those oil pipelines, some hospitals in San Diego have been massively impacted, and it's taken them weeks to come back to where they were before because their backup systems just, the SLAs and the recovery times were just crazy long. Here, you can be recovering very, very quickly because you're just copying the change blocks back over, and so you can simply roll back to a previous point in time where before that ransomware attack ever hit. So it's, again, the recovery time objectives are very, very fast. So if there is something that goes terribly wrong, it's very easy to roll that production volume back to a previous point in time. Lastly, modernization, in that, again, if you're still using NDMP or tape libraries or something that has to come into a NetApp system, lock file system, figure out what's changed, rehydrate all that data, send it down. Here is a good modern built-in way to do things. Again, that's the cloud backup service. So for the tech folks on the call, just show you a couple of architecture slides, which should make it make more sense. Again, this is in Azure, but this would be exactly the same in AWS and in GCP, just the names are different. So if you were in Amazon, you'd be using a VPC instead of VNet. But again, NetApp's goal is to make sure that ONTAP and the support services with it, like Cloud Backup Service, work irrespective of where you are. So essentially, again, you've got a CVO, maybe it's a Cloud Volumes ONTAP system running inside of Azure. It's got some data disks, either LOS, LRS, or page blob, or what have you. Cloud Manager, which is our control plane as a service that covers not only provisioning of this, but also the backup services, would simply send some HTTPS commands to CVO. CVO would then open up a connection and simply copy that, move the blocks down to a completely separate Azure blob. So now you've essentially got a completely separate, almost offsite, if you will, because it's outside the customer's VNet, copy of that data. So if in case something terrible happens and this goes away completely, no problem. I can use Cloud Manager to restore the information in that Azure blob, either back to this instance of Cloud Volumes ONTAP, a brand new instance that you've created, or anywhere else you might want to go. You could restore it to an on-prem system. If you wanted to, you could restore it to an AWS or GCP system. You can restore it any place. Another way to look at it is the same exact mechanism works for on-premises into the cloud. So if there's situations where there are ONTAP systems living in data centers, that same backup paradigm applies. Notice the chart looks almost identical. Same thing happens. Cloud Manager talks via HTTPS to that on-premise system on a data center. Just like the CVO instance, it opens up a connection down to Azure Blob. It does that same snap mirror block level replication. Cloud Compliance on the side can also be looking at it for data governance and data compliance, but that's a topic for another side. Again, the point is, irrespective of where that is, either an in the cloud ONTAP instance or an on-premise ONTAP system, the architecture is the same. Just some HTTPS commands, and then an open pipe to send things over, which is TLS encrypted, down to that Azure blob or that AWS S3 bucket or that Google Object Store bucket as well. It's very simple. All you do is select which cloud provider you want, click activate, and you're done. So just to show you what the actual screens look like, this is Cloud Manager. This is that control plane as a service. And as you can see, it's showing you things in AWS, things in Azure, things on premises. So again, this gives you a single canvas of all of the ONTAP instances that you have, irrespective of where they might be. To activate the cloud backup service on anything, all you do is click on that cloud and click activate. It'll ask you a couple of questions like how many snapshots do you want to retain? How often do you want to back them up? Once a day, once a week, once a month, multiple policies, and that's it. You're done. The system is now busy backing itself up. If you want to go ahead and restore, same thing applies. You go to whichever cloud you wish that has a backup on it already. You click activate, and then you're presented with the recovery wizard. It allows you to basically delve in and select the working environment you want to restore, the volume that you want to get, and then you have a choice. You can either take that entire volume and restore it, again, back to any ONTAP system you want to, including the original one, or you can go into the file browser and again, find the files you want to restore. Again, restore them to any location you want, including the original, a different volume on the original, or again, any other ONTAP system, irrespective of where that is. Licensing and pricing is basic. There's both a pay-go and a bring your own license. That's what BYOL stands for, model. It's free for 30 days. After that, it's 5 cents per gig per month, and this is calculated before efficiencies. So if the customer, or if you look like you have 100 terabytes, 50 terabytes, whatever it's going to be, it'll be charged at just the pay-go is 5 cents per gig per month. If you sign up for a longer subscription, the price does go down. And again, you can either be purchased via cloud marketplace or bring your own license. And then just to wrap up, again, a happy marketing slide. As I mentioned, it's automated, just a couple of clicks and it's now running. Incrementals forever. After that first backup, it just sends the change blocks over. It's very reliable and very fast. It's just block levels. All of the storage efficiencies are all preserved, so nothing gets rehydrated. It's all nice and compact down on the storage. It scales limitlessly, and as I mentioned, it's instant and granular restores. And again, you can certainly use traditional NDMP if you'd like to, or you can use Veeam or something else like that. We do partner with them. But frankly, if all you're really concerned about is backing up ONTAP systems, then this becomes the simplest, easiest, and very cost-effective way to do so. A couple of resources. When we share these slide decks out, this is what you'll see. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that would give you a good sort of taste or introduction to the cloud backup service. And thank you. So I believe I'm turning it directly over to Frank at this point. Correct, Frank?
Yes, and actually, I do need to have the screen sharing set up. Caitlin or Lisa, if one of you could set that up for me while you're doing it. So it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So if somebody can make me a co-host. So while we're waiting on that, unlike Aaron, I chose to go ahead and have 4 or 5 drinks ahead of time. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm just kidding, guys. I haven't had any drinks. So Aaron, go ahead.
Here
man.
I go.
Start drinking up.
Frank.
Start have your fun over there. All right. Anybody make me co-presenter? I think I am now. Perfect. Here we go. All right. Let me get this popped up here. Okay. So good day, everybody. My name is Frank Pulliam. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at NetApp. And I think I shared the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let me get the right one here. Share screen. Screen 1. There we go. That looks right. Aaron, can you confirm you're seeing the right thing there?
Yep.
I am indeed. Yep, we see you there.
All right. So let's get going. So I work with a product called Virtual Desktop Service. And I want to walk you through what that solution is and why it's important, I think, in today's landscape. When we talk to customers, we talk to them all the time about challenges around VDI, and there's a number of them. What we commonly hear right out of the gate is, I don't have the staff. I don't have somebody on staff with VDI experience or with the right VDI experience. Obviously, VDI has changed over the years. So that's something they're trying to overcome. When they actually, if they do have the staff or they get started down this journey, they typically will run into a lot of stumbling blocks. Not only does it take longer to get through these deployments than they anticipated, these can be much more difficult, and there's lots of things they haven't thought of ahead of time. Trying to manage all of this at scale. So let's say you get through the deployment and you've got VDI stood up and that you're trying to manage. It's one thing to manage this in a proof of concept, right, with a few users. It's another to take 100 or 500 or 10,000 users and try to manage these at scale, sometimes many times across the globe in some instances. And then there's the sort of a barrage. We're going to dig into a product called Windows Virtual Desktop in a few minutes from Microsoft. It's a new solution, relatively new in the marketplace as of a couple of years ago. And because it is new, it is rapidly evolving. There's constant announcements going out around new features and functionality. You got to digest that, figure out, is that something I need, then determine how you actually implement it, test it, et cetera. And then as you begin to scale this out, right? So we have customers that maybe they want to have VDI in multiple clouds. Maybe they want to have VDI in a single cloud, but in multiple regions or subscriptions for various reasons. As you start to scale that out, you end up kind of managing things in sort of a silo. So you'll end up with one silo over here and one over here, and you're managing them as different systems. And then, of course, right, going into the cloud, cost control is and should be top of mind for everybody. So we're here to try to make this easier for you. So rather than assume everybody is working with Windows Virtual Desktop technology, I wanted to take just a moment and level set on what that actually is, because it's very important you understand this change in the VDI landscape. So Windows Virtual Desktop, put out by Microsoft a couple of years ago, there's a lot of reasons that it's very, very popular. I can tell you, right now it's about somewhere between 95% to 98% of our deployments in the past 12 months. It's hugely popular. And Windows Virtual Desktop, there's really lots of reasons it's great, but there's two big ones. The first is, if you're familiar with VDI, you know that most VDI solutions were built on top of remote desktop services, or more commonly known in the past as terminal server. It was a server-based operating system. It was kind of kludgy. It was retrofitted to be used as a VDI. It was never meant from the foundation to be used as desktops for users. So what Microsoft did was they took Windows 10 and they added what's called a multi-session capability to it, which means you could take a single virtual machine and put many users on that single VM. They can share the resources. That drives your costs way down instead of giving each user a dedicated VM. But they still get actual Windows 10. It is the real thing. It has all the application support of Windows 10, the experience, the deep integration with Office 365 and other Office or Microsoft applications. And that's it. That's the first time we've ever had this in the VDI space is Windows 10 or an actual end user operating system, but coupled with that multi-session capability. The other piece, the important piece Microsoft did was they took all of the infrastructure that you used to have to take and stand up and manage and support and secure as part of a VDI solution. So things like gateways, how do I get connected to my machine? Brokers, how do I get routed to the right machine, right? And get logged in as a user. That's all infrastructure in the traditional world. Well, now with WVD, that is moved into Azure. It's part of the cloud. It's in the background. It's built in, not something we have to manage or worry about. It simply gets us, it's one of the things, it just works, right? It just does its thing. And now we have a global presence of gateways and brokers to route us to our infrastructure. Again, these are the big things. There's a few other examples that we can go through in more detail on a separate call, but these are the big ones. And so you may be listening to this and saying, well, if there's this native solution from Microsoft called Windows Virtual Desktop, why do I need NetApp? Why would I talk to NetApp about this? And so that's where our virtual desktop service product comes into play. So when you look at Windows Virtual Desktop, you actually have, as a customer, 3 different choices of how you actually go about this. The first is going to be the native Microsoft offering. Okay, so when I say that, what I mean is you're actually going to use Microsoft clients for whatever operating system you're connecting from, right? So if I'm on a Mac, I'm going to download the RD client from Microsoft for the Mac, and so on. I'm going to I'm going to cross the management plane that I just spoke about, the PaaS, the platform service objects, the gateways, brokers that Microsoft runs for us in Azure. I'm going to traverse those. And I'm ultimately going to end up on a machine in my tenant or in my cloud, right? That is running the Microsoft WVD agent on it. Citrix and VMware have their own flavors and own way of doing this. They basically have kind of transported or migrated their legacy solution into the cloud. And so end to end, completely different. And I'm not here to knock them in any way, shape, or form. They do a tremendous job at VDI and have for a long time. But the reason that there's a couple of reasons that customers may tend to use Citrix or VMware in these cases. But what we find is that for a large section of the market, the native WVD offering that, by the way, you're paying for no matter what with your licenses from Microsoft if you want to use WVD, that native offering fits the bill from a technology standpoint. So, and a user experience standpoint, where it's lacking is there is no de facto management suite or finished product that you simply use a single pane of glass to manage WVD. That is where NetApp VDS comes into play. We give you a management suite experience, but we leverage that native WVD, which helps you leverage and realize the investment in your license dollars with Microsoft. And we'd love to, following this webinar, if you have more interest, we'll dive into the software and go through it. But I'll give you kind of a taste of it really quickly, which is VDS is a management suite. The tool set will allow you to rapidly provision VDI, but of course, you don't just stop there. Right? We're not just creating VMs and then calling it a day. We actually have users. Users are going to log into these VMs. They need to be managed and supported. You're going to find features in the software around managing that. You're going to be able to manage the applications and storage that comes with those users in VDS. You're going to be able to drive policy and automation. You're going to be able to scale and optimize the environment. And VDS actually works on your behalf by continuously optimizing the environment. And I love the image here of a dartboard with a bullseye, because that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. The bullseye is represented by the right infrastructure in the cloud at the lowest possible cost, right? You don't want to oversubscribe. You don't want to undersubscribe. Those are both bad for different reasons. So VDS will tell you where that bullseye is, or allow you to set the strategy on where you want it. And then it'll come back with automation and hit that bullseye every single day on your behalf. We deploy, in this case, we're focused on WVD in Azure. We use best practices, right? So we're not just going to take a default image from the marketplace and say, hey guys, have fun with everything else, you're on your own. No, we're going to bake in the key technologies, the key configurations that we know customers need right out of the gate. And there's some flexibility there, obviously. And as you grow this, you may start with a single region, but you may grow beyond that. You may grow to multiple regions or multiple subscriptions. You can easily, instead of having to manage those in silos, in VDS, you can pull those under management, under what we call sites. And VDS will handle all of the plumbing for you. So the VNet peering and the connections and all the management behind it, it will do it. You simply get to click a button and to drive actions in different sites. Now, being here at NetApp, we have the power to leverage other solutions. We have integration with Cloud Insights for those NetApp customers on the call. That's a powerful monitoring, reporting, and alerting engine. We actually have an integration with that, so we can see performance information of our compute and our storage right in VDS. So your help desk can have information at the click of a button. We can solve for if you're using file servers that are located somewhere else, you're not ready to move those into the cloud quite yet. We can implement something called global file cache, allows us to present that server data right to those users in the cloud. And then we can also back up your Office 365 data because you're probably going to start to take more advantage or more use of that information. So with all of that said, I want to leave you with this in mind, and this is the conversation. It's kind of a build versus buy. We actually went through an exercise where we timed ourselves, standing up WVD, deploying it, managing it for over the course, and extrapolated it over the course of a year. Factored in our time, how long does it take us without the tool, and then we went back and did it with VDS and timed ourselves. And we actually did this with an external firm, and there's a white paper on this and a website with information. And what we found was with VDS, when we compared this with a 1,000 user deployment over the first year, we were able to drive costs down by 70% in a lot of cases. How do we do that? We do that through driving down compute and storage through optimization, driving down the costs. And this is the big one, dramatically lowering the labor cost when you use a tool like VDS. So I wanted to give you just a glimpse of one of those features because I think it's one of the coolest and easiest to understand, which is live scaling. So here I've got a graphic of 6 session hosts, and pretend that many users can log on to any one of these machines. But right now, nobody's logged in. There's no users. What we do with live scaling is we leave a machine on in the pool. And the reason we do that is because there's eventually going to be users that log in. And then what VDS will do is sit there and monitor for you. It notices the workload increase. You can see that it powered on session host number 2. More users come in. It powers on session host number 3, and so on, machine by machine. And then it allows us to also maximize each machine to make sure we're not overloading it. And then, of course, you could probably guess this, it'll work in reverse. So as the last user gets logged off of a session host, it's actually going to go ahead and automatically power it down for you and stop the billing of the compute of that machine. This is a simple checkbox and a toggle button in our software. If nothing else, you click that button in our software and you've immediately saved between 50 and 70% of your compute costs for that host pool. We have a lot of other great features, and obviously we don't have time today to go through all that. If you do have more interest in VDS, please reach out to the RZR team. They will get you connected with us, and we'll go through your specific scenario and teach you more about VDS. And I want to thank everybody for your time, and I'm going to pass it back over to David, and I'll see if there's any questions in chat, and I'll answer those for you.
Thank you so much, Frank. There's a lot to talk about. I can't underemphasize how exciting the virtual desktop offering is. We are seeing tremendous uptick, not just in this COVID era, but for security and regulation purposes. If you're in a regulated industry like financial services, healthcare, or government, if you're working on mergers and acquisitions or have short-term employees, contractors, we've done several projects with companies that have worked with employees or vendors, partners, suppliers in other countries. The flexibility of Azure allows you to locate infrastructure in your country of choice or keep it here in the United States. It allows you to offer it to specific employees. And I'm speaking more from the business standpoint, right? When you have a BYOD environment, bring your own device, mobile access, where you have call centers or branch workers, right? And then we're also working on specialized workloads. We're working with an architectural firm that needs a graphics intensive virtual desktop. The choice of VMs and compute capability within the Azure environment is pretty much unlimited. If you're doing, we're doing several software development, SDLC projects using Windows Virtual Desktop. So yeah, contact us. There's the business side. There's the full great experience, seamless with Microsoft 365, with Teams, with OneDrive, with Outlook. Would love to show you. You can deploy and scale in a short amount of time. I posted a little offering link in the chat for those of you who are new to RZR. We're one of the few Microsoft partners that has offerings published in the Azure Marketplace. It's sort of the commercial place where vendors, partners list their solutions. So just wanted to give shout out to that link. So without further ado, because I don't want to leave Jason without a drink here. Jason, why don't you take us through the end?
Thank you, David. That was incredible, guys. Amazing stuff. It is, isn't it sweet to be alive and having this whiskey and all this technology? When I think of the cloud, that's just amazing stuff. You guys are way smarter than me. When I think of the cloud, I think of the ancestors, the virtual desktop. I rely on my ancestors. This is the relation, the parlay here, the recovery, be your own recovery and think about your ancestors. And, the backups that you're talking about is the spirits of your ancestors and let them, kind of back you up. And, I have a bunch of different little trinkets here and I get the goosebumps on my body. And I feel the cold that when my great-grandfather was a coal miner, Apple huckster, worked for the Navy, was in World War I. We're going a bunch of different time frames here, but, they endured, our ancestors, all ancestors, no matter, what the ethnicity. They came on the ships and, it's amazing stuff from the technology, and just trying to parlay it is just the way thinking about enjoying this nice whiskey. Like I said, I hope you like it, but thinking about your ancestors, raise a toast to being alive, because there's so many little things, so many little tree branches that have to happen to be alive. And it's amazing to be alive. You know, there's been a lot of devastation. There's been a lot of, you know, crazy times, obviously, that we've been in. And there's so many names that people use every day. But, you know, you go back 100 years when these two met, John and Anna, you know, the Spanish flu was circulating around, and a lot of fear and a lot of, but you have to back yourself up. You have to, you know, you have to do things differently now today. And I think you guys can attest to that, that's what you have to do with technology. And I have to do a lot of things differently myself. And, but the ancestors are the key. You know, I suggest you, you know, I just lost one of my aunts recently, and she used to send you a card. I collect those cards because I love to rub my fingers over that signature. I collect suitcases because I imagine, you know what, where did that suitcase go? I don't know, but the imagination of our minds can put us there, maybe. And maybe the spirits of these people, or all the spirits that I come across and all the great stories that I come across, I use that for energy. And I regurgitate that like the flux capacitor in Back to the Future, where Dr. Brown at the end of Back to the Future 1 is putting the, you know, the garbage as fuel. And, you know, we got to take the negatives and turn them into the positives. And I think you can attest to that, to the technology as well. And, you know, we have to lean on each other in these tough times. You know, you still have to see the world with the suitcases. And I suggest to everybody out there, as you're sitting here and looking at the nostalgia of this bottle, you know, to look into, you know, the spirit of your ancestors by going through old albums, teaching the next generations about who did what and how and why did they come to this city and not that city, you know, which ancestors came on the ships. And, you know, I think about it as like the Patrick McCanns would have been the original McCann for my family to be, you know, on the mainland United States of America. And I'm like, what if he didn't jump on that ship at that time, on that date, and go on that one? Maybe he doesn't make it. Maybe there's no food on that one. And, you know, we emulated the whiskey that would have came, the famine whiskey is here as well. And this is some spiritual stuff. I am not just about whiskey. I'm about life, ancestry, good vibes, good feeling, good people. And, you know, some good things about, you know, the company is here today with NetApp and RZR, and it's family too. And I feel that when I get, you know, a necklace like this, and it just makes things a little bit more different. It's a little bit different with the people here. And I don't know everybody behind this screen today, but I just think, you know, we just all got to be better. We can be better. And we raise a toast to the ancestors. And that is the biggest hope of mine, is to think about your ancestors. And the whole methodology behind my whiskey is for everybody, and my hope and my dream that they're raising it in the kitchens, in the parlors, on the beaches, at the weddings, unfortunately at the funerals. Any little celebration of life is a celebration, and it should be celebrated. This webinar should be celebrated by all the great people that have put this together, and raising a toast to them, to their ancestors, everybody on here that's with their own company here and just came and got a box and just said, hey, you know what, I'm going to join this, and cheers to you, and cheers to your ancestors. And that's the hope and dream, is for everybody to just feel something different, to be different, to help each other, and be and find the feathers that I do. I wrote a little story about signs of a feather and being on the walking path of life. And how do you know if you're on the right walking path of life? Well, I believe my ancestors have sent me the feathers. Some people call me, that's great. Some say it's crazy. Some say it is what it is. But I have to believe in something so I can live my life positively, and hopefully the universe takes care of everything else, and just be the best that you can be. And that's just you know, me going off the cuff there, you know, with these suitcases that travel and all the mementos, collect all the mementos. And that's what I was getting at with the cards of my aunts and my grandmoms. I still have them. I still have the $2 bills. I have a wallet that a replacement grandmother gave me, and it says in here, and I'm going to share this with you. I haven't shared it on a webinar like this before, but this is a handkerchief that my grandmother sewed for me when she passed away when I was 4, but she made this little handkerchief when I was a baby. After I was a little bit bigger, the baby bonnet didn't fit no more. And she made this handkerchief out of a baby bonnet, and I've had it forever. And you can't really see on the screen, but it's a little yellow. I mixed in some feathers to get that spirituality with it. And I put all my little trinkets in this little wallet because she passed away when I was 4, and I had this nice, sweet grandmother type figure that let me smoke tobacco out of a pipe. And I grew up in Philly. I grew up in a different way. I grew up in a bar. But this wallet with some pictures and the last $3 that I had in my pocket a couple years ago, the Apple huckster fight that we have in the family, that I hope you all have in this family, and your families, I mean. But it says, Jason, may your wallet never be empty. Love you, Marie. And it's just one of those things where this wallet, somebody made an ill comment because I wore it to a wedding because it's the love that was with this wallet. And but that's okay, because sometimes people don't understand. But there's some mask cards, and there's some pictures of my grandmother in there, and Marie Fitzgerald was the replacement grandmother. The point is collect all the old school stuff and put them in your mantle, put them on your desktops, put them on your bureaus, show them to your kids. I have Cole, I have the wallets, I have the bag of feathers, I have the Jeff caps. The Jeff cap's fallen. The Jeff cap that I had since I was 13, the feathers that I collect, the suitcases, the little flasks that are very old, the watch that I was given by a neighborhood uncle when he passed. And it's all those things that make your life meaningful and give yourself that life of purpose. And I was thinking is like just this little memento gift that I got from Paige at RZR. She didn't know it, but I was going through some tough things, and we're all going through some tough things. And that's why I say, pray to the ancestors, scream at the universe for what you want, and fight like you know what, HELL. And she didn't know it at the time, but I needed this. I needed something like this, the tree of life that she made for me. And that's why it's like family here. And I needed to lean on that. And it gave me the power that someone else understands. Someone else reached out that gift. Someone else helped me, in a time of need. And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. And, I appreciate this time to come here today, show you all my little trinkets, show you my suitcases, share my whiskey. I hope you like it. This is my favorite one out of the 5, and I have a couple more coming. I have a Wild Bill Guineer bottle. I have Pops Can Bootlegger's Daughter. We have other things coming, but just like this technology, I'm evolving. Pops Can is evolving. RZR's evolving. NetApp is evolving. And if anybody has any questions, or anybody wants to be the lead person on questions about whiskey or anything on my end, great. Maybe questions about NetApp, RZR, Azure, and all that kind of stuff that I can't pronounce. Have at it. If not, I'm gonna. If we could do the toast, a very spiritual toast. Anybody else have any questions? All right, no problem. So we're gonna do a little toast. It takes about 40 seconds, and then I'm gonna send us off. I'm gonna send us off with a very cool song about why we need to lean on people. And hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, if you're at home, maybe put a little more whiskey in that glass, stay home, and don't go out and drive. And think about your ancestors, and think about, wow, I'm alive, because so many people had to meet since the cavemen. And how we're alive is just one of those crazy things. My mother was coming through my house trying to go to the bathroom, and I'm on this call, and she had me when she was 19. So, but anyway, remember the ancestors. Raise a toast to your ancestors. Think about your ancestors. Think about life. We are alive. We could be on a better path. So without further ado, we're going to do the pasta cantosha is on the back of the bottle. You can follow along if you like, because it's on the back of the bottle. And this is only going to be the one time I put it on the bottle, I think. So without further ado, let's have a taste to all those ancestors that made this happen. Let's drink this whiskey and remember their honor today, their strength, their courage, their fortitude to pave the red carpet in America, the hands that built America. We love you for coming on the ships and coming to the new land of uncertainty. Your spirit lives today. May you look down at us. May you help every one of us live the best life possible and live every breath we can. Cheers all. I'm going to show you one more thing. This is my grandmother. She was a painter. She was an artist. She was a violinist, and she dressed to the nines. She was born in Kensington, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And just a nice little thing that she painted for me. And I don't have a lot, but I have all I need. And, without further ado, I'm going to lead us out with a song. Alexa, play Lean On Me by Bill Withers. Cheers, everyone.
Here's Lean On Me by Bill Withers on Amazon Music.